Meeting to order. My name's Chris Garahan. I'm this year's Conservation Commission Chairman. Welcome, everyone. The first item we have under our agenda is the open session citizen concerns. And moving into the agenda, we have an item here, Jenna Olinio, DBA SUPO Adventures, request to access Freeman Lake from commission land to conduct paddleboard classes. Do we have anyone here? Why don't you come right up to the podium, Anna? And if you can just tell the commission, give us a little overview of what you'd like to do, and then we'll just ask questions and take it from there. Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jana. Thank you for having me. So just a little bit of a backstory. We've been running paddleboard classes at a Hart Pond for the past 10 years. This year, there was some concern about us running kids' classes during the daytime hours when there was a lifeguard on duty. And after a lot of conversation with the town manager, we discovered we are permitted to run adult classes in the evenings and weekends, but no kids' classes during the daytime over there. So I've been looking for a plan B so that we don't disappoint all the kids in Chelmsford this summer. And I've met with David over at Shore Drive a few times to see if we can launch from there. I've talked to the American Legion on the other side to see if we can launch from there. There's no problem with that for them, but it's not as nice of a launch. So we really don't do a lot. It's 2 hours on Thursdays that we run the kids programs. It's 10 to 1. And then another 3 weeks in the summer where we run a 4-hour program, and it's 2 days for 3 weeks, and that's it. And it's a short season, maybe 7 weeks total, where we have a 1-hour class on Thursdays. So we're not looking to take up a lot of space, but we do need to park some cars over there, and I don't know what the restrictions are. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks for a quick overview. Just a quick question that I've got is, can you
Sure.
tell us exactly where the location is that you want to
Okay,
utilize?
so based on that map,
In fact, if you want to, you can step over and point it out, maybe.
I don't know this area too well, but I'm guessing it's right here. Is this correct, David? There's
Yes.
a launch?
The two properties that are outlined in orange are both Conservation Commission properties.
Okay.
This one right here does have access to the lake.
Okay.
There's a little bit of parking there. This one right here has a fair amount of parking.
Okay.
And actually, it looks like there's another. Why don't I bring up?
Maps, Google Maps?
Yeah, I'll do that. So this area right in here, this is the area that I just mentioned where there's quite a bit of parking.
Okay.
Someone has nicely maintained it over the years.
That's actually where we had the easement, that driveway.
Yes, that driveway right there. So it looks to me like there's room for at least 5 cars.
Okay.
Right in there. And then if you go on, and then over on the other side, it looks like there's another access point here.
I've walked down here, and this isn't a safe access.
It's
I mean,
not?
If you were just pulling a kayak in by yourself, I would say, yeah, it's probably
Okay.
no problem. But to bring kids,
Okay.
I don't think it's a good option.
Well,
So
let's see if I can,
what do we know, if anything, about that other spot we've been meeting at?
I'm trying to get.
Is that on the other side of the spillway?
Yeah, let me.
Yes.
How many students do you expect to have?
We just have 10 in the class, and they're ages 7+, and usually the parents wait for them, but we've always done it at Hart Pond, and there's a beach and a nice place for the parents to hang out. So I don't even know if it will go over well if we change locations, but I just want to give people an option.
So you're thinking the worst-case scenario will be 10 cars?
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we definitely could get 5 down the road, and I think you could probably get maybe another 2 here and another 3 over here
Okay.
without causing a major problem. As we talked about, Jana, wouldn't want to block
Of
this.
course, yeah.
This is the access which you wouldn't want to block. And then there's another area.
The no parking in between the two signs, which is
Yeah.
not showing there, but
Well, I guess
That's there,
this
yeah.
was taken after, but yeah.
This
there's-
is down by the
there's-
spillway then, right?
It's right near it, yeah.
Right near the
I think-
spillway.
I think this is, yeah, there's the spillway right there.
Yeah,
Right there.
so,
Well, we don't go near this with the kids. We would launch and paddle out this way, all the way around, and then cut across the lake, so we're not near there. We have the same issue in a couple other towns where it's kind of dangerous to be close to it, so we avoid it. And, did you find out anything about the gate, the chain?
no, I didn't, I'm sorry, I'll ask about that. You will need that removed?
Well, yeah, I think
Yeah, that makes
we
sense.
can work around it, but
Let me,
if we have to work around that, then I'd just probably go over to the Legion and use their property, because I have permission to do that, and there's no
let,
issues.
let me look into that. Obviously, we'll need permission to do that, but, I mean, I don't know why it would be denied. We'll just have to see, but thank you for reminding me.
I assume
it
they
is.
open it at some point in the summer, because how else would you get your kayaks in there for people in town, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But let me look into that. And as I think we talked about, Jan, it would also be really important to be out of there by sunset,
Yeah, we won't
since
be
it
there
says.
then, 'cause we're gonna be able to do adults down at Hart Pond. So the
Oh.
adult classes are at night, so
Yeah.
we have that all figured out.
Oh, you will be able to do those at Hart Pond?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Okay.
so Paul's only issue is the lifeguard, 10 to 6, I think they're there, he said.
okay.
So, not being there during those hours, otherwise we could be there in the evenings and weekends. So we would only be accessing this for the daytime kids,
Okay. So,
which is very infrequent, like I said.
Can you
And
go
so-
back to the mic, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Just that Thursday, 10 to 1, I believe it is.
okay.
We'll see if the commissioners have questions. We'll start down with John then.
I don't see nothing wrong with this at all. So it could be done safely.
Okay.
So can I speak to that too? We have insurance, obviously. I can provide a certificate of insurance or anything that you need. All of our guides are wilderness first aid trained, first aid and CPR, and they're paddleboard certified and yoga certified. So just so you know, we're not just people off the street taking kids on the water.
Okay.
Is there a reason why it's not being done over at Varney, off
That's,
that beach?
it's not public, right?
Well, I think Varney is public, but I think it's the same issue.
Yeah.
With the lifeguards.
And it would be hard for us to get our paddleboards all the
Oh,
way down
okay.
there.
Yeah, I'm not a paddleboarder, so I don't know.
Yeah, that would be hard for kids.
I mean,
Okay.
this,
Very
this
hard.
I think is Varney way over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
But, yeah, it would have the same issue as the Hart Pond with the,
Mm-hmm.
What's the issue with the lifeguards? I didn't follow that.
Paul doesn't want us down there with the lifeguard on duty because it confuses the lifeguard. They're not responsible for our group, which is a private group. And if something happened, they would be responsible or feel responsible. So he says it causes confusion.
Okay. All right.
And, I mean, we've talked for months, so that's the final answer.
Okay.
So this is Dave McLaughlin. So who is responsible if the lifeguards aren't?
That would be our guides. We're responsible for who we bring on the water.
Chris, you're the lawyer. Is there any liability to the town or the Conservation Commission?
I don't see exposure at this point, Dave, you know? As long as, everyone exercises, reasonable precautions. Let's go back, John, you good?
yeah, I'm good.
Good? Pete?
Yeah, a great idea. Two questions, spillway and emergency vehicle access. So, David, I haven't been out there. I don't know if you've been out lately, but there's no chance a bad wind would create a problem with your students relative to the dam and the spillway?
We don't go out with the heavy winds. So it's usually we go by knots, but if it's 10 knots or more, we don't go on the water.
But
Is it?
Jana is well aware of the spillway.
Yeah.
I did, show that to her.
So yeah, all right, well, we don't need to discuss it here, but, and then emergency vehicle access, is that the parking you described, David? Would that allow,
Yeah, I
if there was
mean,
an unfortunate incident?
In my opinion, that there is plenty of room for emergency vehicle access up there, even if there were 10 cars
Yeah.
that were, spaced
Okay.
evenly along the road. I don't think that should be a problem.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jan, I had a question. So what period of time are you looking for permission? I mean, is it like June through September, or how many months are you
School
looking
doesn't
at?
get out till end of June, so we start the last week in June till the second week in August. I think it's 6 to 7 weeks total. And
Okay.
it's just Thursdays
Just Thursdays?
for 2 hours.
Okay. Okay, good. Mark?
Nothing really, except if you can kind of police the area to make sure nobody parks on private property.
Of course.
That's it.
Yeah, Carl?
I guess I'd just like to review it at the end of the year and just see how it went and see if
Okay.
neighbors had any issues.
Okay.
But I've been there, I know the area. I think there's enough room. The emergency vehicle, I'm pretty sure, would be able to get in there. Room for turnaround if they had to, yeah. The spillway has a fence up on it, so.
Yep.
All right, Dave McLaughlin?
Does, you said as many as 10 cars?
Max, yes.
And does CPD have any role in this at all? Are they going to have to provide somebody on site?
Chelmsford Police?
No. So we do this in 10 other towns. We've been doing it for 10 years. We've never had any need for that, so I would have to say no.
Well, you recognize that our town might be different.
Yes.
Just make sure CPD doesn't have any requirements.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to approve the request?
Yeah.
All right, motion by Mark to approve, seconded by John. I think we just want to be, we want to be, specific about what we're approving. And we know we're approving through the end of the school year, through September. I think we said Thursdays, right?
Thursdays is our classes. Go
So
ahead.
I'll modify the event registration form
Yep,
to include this area, and then
I can
Jana
fill it out.
can then complete it with all of the planned dates
okay, good,
and times.
good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, keep it specific. And again, obviously, we reserve our right, if we get complaints throughout the summer, there's problems, we might not want to do this again next year.
Sure.
But, all right, any further comments, discussion points? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Dave, I couldn't see you out there, did you get a nod? Yep, good, thanks. All right, you're all set,
Thank you.
Jana, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is Bobby Marangi, 110 Crooked Spring Road, National Grid tree clearing.
Are any of the neighbors here? So, in addition to Bobby, there were, I guess, a couple of other neighbors who were unable to make it as well. So I guess nobody, none of the neighbors will be here, but just very, very briefly, this is the area of concern. I think it's right across from 110 Crooked Spring Road. And this is a power line that goes over to the high school, I think.
Middle school.
Parker School.
Middle school.
That's Parker right there on the left.
Okay, the Parker Middle School?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. So this is, here's before and after. So this is before and this is after. So, I mean, you can see it is quite different. I did explain that, utility companies have many exemptions from wetland rules and regulations. I think there are wetlands right here. But they have exemptions for maintenance of their utility lines and easements. So I did explain that. In speaking to DPW Director Christine Clancy, who's also the tree warden, because it is on town-owned property, it did require her permission to cut the trees, even though it did not require a public hearing because wasn't in a town road right-of-way. But she said that National Grid is obligated to replace the trees, a one-to-one replacement, which obviously won't be in the same location. But in a location to be determined. I did offer her my help in terms of finding a suitable and appropriate location for planting the replacement trees.
I mean, I can understand the concern. It's certainly an environment, because I live not far from there. It's an environmentally sensitive area. There's a lot of wildlife that just kind of comes down through that corridor there. So it's a sensitive area, and it did seem to me that they were cutting an awful lot of trees. I understand having some maintenance and wanting to keep the lines protected, but they really did cut a lot of trees down.
I drive by there a lot, and I was like,
Right?
what the heck? I'm glad somebody brought it up, because I was gonna bring it up as well. Was this last week, or maybe the week before? It was very recent.
Yeah, sometime in that timeframe. I have put the neighbors in touch with Christine. I think that Christine will do her best to extract as many concessions out of National Grid as she can. Both in this case and in the future. To hopefully avoid, any clearing more than is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, that's my concern, because I've seen them out, like, in other areas, it's, a tree branch here and a little branch here, and they're kind of, it's snip here to snip there, and they really came into this area and just kind of went to town, taking lots of trees, whole trees down, so.
So, this is Dave.
Dave.
This work has been completed?
It's done. Well, it better be done. It looks like it's done, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And was the work in the wetlands or within our jurisdiction?
It looked to me like it was in the buffer zone. I mean,
Buffer zone?
there are a lot of wetlands back there, but
And they didn't give us the courtesy of letting us know?
they do often notify us. I went back through my emails and I could not find a notification for.
And was the
for
work
this.
as neat and as nice as they did out off of River Neck Road? I'm serious. This is is there anyone from National Grid here tonight?
No, I do
I
have
mean, this
some.
is an opportunity for us to tell them how disappointed we have been with what they did out at River Neck Road.
I
I hope they don't do it all over the place.
And I know that the neighbors feel that they left a big mess here, and so.
Oh, really?
So both. I've expressed that concern to Christine. They have expressed that concern to Christine. So maybe this at the very least, this can be an opportunity to try and have things be done better in the future.
We may have to get our state reps involved.
Dave, this is very, very visible from the
If they're
road.
not going to listen to us.
Yeah, Dave, you should actually, if you haven't, take a ride by, just come right down, you head up towards the high school, make a turn over Parker. You can see this right from the road. It is
I
very
think I know
visible.
where it is,
Yeah,
yeah.
very visible.
Okay.
But I guess at this point, our options are limited as far as what we can do, other than express our concern and disappointment to the authorities that be.
Well, yeah, and try and work with the authorities that be to hopefully be able to have more oversight through a town ordinance or regulation.
Is Crooked Spring Road a scenic road?
I don't know.
They destroyed the stone wall there.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can look into that, but again, the utilities are probably exempt.
Yeah. But they'll be back in front of us, I'm sure, for some permitting situations in the future.
Yes.
And, this is on the list
Yeah, this is,
for a discussion point.
Okay.
But that's about all we can do with it tonight. All right.
Could we call them in?
We could. They'll be coming in for sure in the near future, but yeah, I mean, David?
I think they'll be less responsive to the commission than they will be to Christine, because she's a tree warden, so I think, working through her is the best way to go, and maybe we, that way, maybe we can get them to come in, where then we can
well,
express
let's have, David, why don't you follow up again with Christine?
I will.
Tell her that, we had a pretty frank discussion among commissioners. The commissioner was very disappointed with the extent of the cutting and all the size of the trees and the amount of trees going down, and that we're kind of upset. And then we had the River Neck Road situation as well, too, where they
Yep, yep.
went in kind of, clear cut
That-
in a
that's
very
never-
environment.
That's never really been corrected.
That hasn't been correct, in another environmentally sensitive area, so, and that's our, we're supposed to protect the environment in those sensitive areas, and it just feels like they're doing what they want to do.
Okay,
I
good.
I went down to River Neck Road
Remember that?
last weekend,
Yeah,
and I think they're done down there. Whatever they're destroying, it's all done.
Yeah.
But they put straw out, a little bit of straw on top of the soil there. Is that what we asked them to do? Is that what they normally do? Straw or hay to stabilize the soil? They dusted it.
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, I thought we kind of didn't really want people to use hay bales or similar.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing they're doing is correct. It's all just,
Yeah, when they do anything at all, it's
I think
generally
they
not
just
the
do it.
right thing to do.
I think they just do it.
But I would,
It's their job. They
would
just
say
do it.
follow up to Christine again on this, and let her know that we're really very unhappy with
Okay,
it.
I'll make that clear.
Do we have their vegetation management plan that I think is required? Maybe not to us, but there's plans for,
Right. I would expect Christine would have that. I will certainly ask her.
might be nice to take a look at that and see what the plan says. I mean, if they're following the plan, it might be a different situation for us than if they're not following what's been approved.
Well, and over on River Neck Road, that was in rare species habitat. They had additional requirements that they were supposed to meet, which, in my opinion, they did not. I tried speaking with Natural Heritage, tried getting them involved, but I guess they didn't want to go up against Ingrid.
And then I just want to ask the question as a consumer of electricity. Kind of a rhetorical question, but I mean, were those trees at risk of falling on the power line?
Usually they are.
I mean, that's another question to ask, because it is a challenge, right, to balance the ecology stuff with, we all like to have power.
That's,
Yeah, but when you look at the situation, it really looks excessive. The
Yeah.
number of trees,
they might be doing an upgrade.
distance, yeah.
Does
it
anybody
just-
know about
Oh,
that?
good question.
If they're
just-
doing an upgrade,
They need
that's
access.
why they're doing it.
Yeah.
I'll
So
see.
that,
It
it might be that,
It was
they don't tell you
really,
everything,
it was really unusual, the extent of the cutting.
but they're probably doing an upgrade.
It'd be a heck of an upgrade, that's all I can say,
Well,
based on
it-
what they took down.
I'll see what I can find out about that.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, I think that's all we can do about that one tonight. Moving on to regulatory items, regulatory hearings. We have a notice of intent that was filed by Jerez Master of 6 Durrell Drive. Kenneth Lenia from Cornerstone Land Associates LLC is representing the applicant. We should have a legal notice here for the record. Mr. Vice Chairman and Clerk?
We do, Mr. Chair, pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing in Room 204 at the Chelmsford Town Offices, 50 Billerica Road, on Tuesday, May 9th, 2023, at 7 p.m. to consider the notice of intent filed by property owner Jayesh Master for proposed work within 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 6 Durrell Drive, further identified as Assessors Map 29, Block 104, Lot 7, The project entails construction of a garage addition with associated grading, drainage, and utilities. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Kenneth Laney of Cornerstone Land Associates representing the applicant. Jayesh and Purvi Master are in the audience, should you require to ask them any pertinent questions. As you stated in the notice, we're here before you to allow them to put a two-story, two-car garage addition onto the edge of their home. They do fall within a number of the resource areas on their property. I'll go through them slightly. The rear of the parcel is bordered by Morse Canal. In the Doral Drive subdivision area, they do have a drainage easement that runs to the western portion of their site. It's a 30-foot wide drainage easement. Takes all of the drainage from Doral Drive and the surrounding streets and passes that into Morse Canal. We flagged that area, wet flag 1A through 9A. We were able to review that wetland delineation on the slope there with David on a site visit, I believe last week, which I believe he was comfortable with. And the only other additional resource areas they have is the 100 and 200-foot riparian zone associated with Morse Canal and the 100-year floodplain associated with Morse Canal. All of those buffer zones have been identified on the plan. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is keep this as less obtrusive as possible. I know we are looking to expand the driveway slightly. I show that in the gray area up there. It's approximately, I think, 548 square foot expansion of impervious area on the parcel in its total. In lieu of that, we're trying to mitigate for that with some drainage. That drainage is shown in what we would call a rain garden off the edge of the existing driveway between the driveway and the drainage easement area that leads to Morse Canal. In addition to that, we've added rooftop recharge basins behind the structure to not only collect the new addition from the garage, but also the existing structure that already has downspouts that just lead into the backyard overland flow there. Soils on the site are A soils, good hydraulic soil group A with sandy soils, pretty decent percolation rate, and ultimately our goal was to get this addition in with leaving, without taking any trees down. So the concern on David's part, and I believe this was forwarded over to the tree warden,
The tree committee.
Tree committee, I apologize, for review, was that, could we get that drainage in that space between the existing drive and its expansion and the edge of Morse Canal? In this particular case, I know that he's concerned with, those trees being affected. I'm not a tree expert ultimately, but those rain gardens are really just small depressions. And I don't know if you folks saw, but you can clearly see in the one of the photographs that was provided in the application package, the masters pile their snow at the end of their driveway like everybody else does. Obviously, the snow will have the salt, the sand, and that stuff's just currently eroding away off into the channel. So I thought it'd be best in this particular case to accommodate the commission as we're doing work within these buffer areas to try and ensure that that water is, mitigated into the groundwater and with the ability to be cleaned out rather than going directly into that drainage channel and into Morse Canal. I don't have a problem with working with the tree committee and David if the commission deems it necessary that we look at revisiting how that scenario was taken care of. Ultimately, our goal was to stay completely out of the 100-foot riparian zone. We were able to do so with that small drainage addition in the rear there. Total impact to the riparian zone, I added onto the plan in percentage rates. The existing impervious was 8.2%, and the proposed impervious brings us to 9.6%. I believe we're allowed to disturb anywhere between 5,000 square feet or 10% of the total amount of riverfront area on the property, and both figures are less than those particular values. So we're hoping that the commission will look favorably upon this application And I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Well, thank you, Ken, for the overview.
Absolutely.
I just, preliminary comment, like, glad to see the rain garden. We like to see those type of things on the plan, so that's good. And again, we're concerned about protecting trees and
Absolutely.
water quality and protecting our water, so I like a number of the items you mentioned as favorable changes, so that's good. But let's start again with commission, see if the commission members have questions. John?
Like to say, terrific plan.
Thank you, sir.
See, hay bales.
I did, so it's tight. It's tight along that edge, so they will have to install hay bales while the work's occurring. And there is gonna be, they are putting a fence up as well, right,
Yep.
along the edge of that backside, so that they can close that yard in for, future grandkids, dogs, cats, yada, yada.
Yep.
But ultimately, they will have to do erosion control. I'll ensure that erosion control is installed prior to construction starting, I think, and David would come out and inspect
Right
it as
now,
well.
the fill, you got a fill?
We have no fill.
No fill.
No, sir. If anything, we'll be removing material, and when it's excavated out, it'll be taken off-site
Taken
the
right
same day.
off-site.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm good.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Peter?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation.
Absolutely.
Good way of describing the project.
Thank you.
I have 3 questions. The first is, I'm just curious. If the goal was to save the trees, why not put the entrance to the garage in the front and eliminate all the pavement as well?
So it's an elevation issue. I don't know if you
I
guys.
see the contours, yeah, there's not enough there.
Right, and because, the floor of the garage is lower than the actual basement, this is technically a split.
Yeah,
So it's not really a typical house where you'd have your garage much lower than the first, second floor type scenario.
Yeah.
So it would make access to that difficult. The pavement's already there, so again, we had only shown a small expansion, a couple of feet on the end. Just after meeting with David out there, conversing with the masters, they have smaller cars. I design everything like I drive a, 18-foot Suburban, so, I couldn't make the swing, but leaving the existing pavement edge where it is, they'd be able to make that swing, so we thought that was a fairly nice concession. We'd take that extra pavement out, but it would be important for us to keep those doors on the side for the elevations.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to spend everyone's time talking about the design since I'm not a designer, but I was just curious because I've seen some projects with the same elevation difference, which is 2 feet, where a lovely stone wall was put in the front yard with those nice, cheap
Yep.
cement blocks that look like they're stone. And you can put granite top on those fairly cheaply. And I saw one recently, it looked like $1 million, so that little wall just to handle the grade difference. So all I'm saying is, I mean, the benefits are like less snow removal, less pavement, less cost for paving, although you gotta build a wall.
Right.
And then, of course, it looks different from the street, which
Right.
may not be attractive to the owners. I can't comment.
I'm
on
not sure,
that.
did any of you folks get a chance to get out there to the neighborhood? Literally, the exact same project was done across the street.
Yeah,
So if you were to drive up and you saw the Masters project and you looked across the street, how
Yeah.
that structure looks across the street is identical to
Yeah.
what's being done on this particular parcel.
so I had 3 quick things. So the second was, you made a suggestion that you might, or the owners might be willing to work a little bit with the commission. And I don't know if you know the Chelmsford Tree Committee, but it's got a couple of hardcore tree guys.
I've become familiar with them.
Yeah, and I think David's already asked Jim Martin,
Yep.
who I've had a chance to work with, and he's been doing this for 50 years, and let me just put it out there, if Jim's listening, I hope you don't mind, but he's not a tree hugger, he's a tree guy. So his mission
Completely
is to save
understandable.
trees, but he also
Absolutely.
has been involved in he knows the drill. And I think he's expressed some interest in maybe consulting a little bit, but he did take a preliminary look.
He did, yes. I received
have
that
been there.
email. I received that email from David, and I
Yeah.
believe I returned an email. Was it this morning, David, or yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know tonight we weren't able to secure the DEP file number. I did call over there and speak with Alicia
Yeah.
Magalagonian or whatever that woman's name is. Nice woman. She said they've received it. It just hasn't been processed. So I know we are going to probably require continuance tonight
Yeah,
for the DEP file number. So I told David I'd have no problem going out there and meeting with Mr. Martin.
Yeah,
and
I
just
think-
seeing what we can do for some just, we want to protect the trees. The Masters had no intention to take any of the trees down.
Yeah, and I think Jim's, I mean, I probably shouldn't speak for Jim, but I think his view is it's not the rain garden or the elevation, it's the digging and the roots.
Yeah, I mean,
What damages these trees, and we have
Right.
had, I know the tree committee has worked on a couple of other big projects in town with big 3-foot diameter, big old trees, where there was construction through the roots, and there's a lot of examples around town, I am told, I'm not the expert, of this exact kind of thing where during construction, and it's not just digging through the roots, but it's the construction equipment.
yep, the heaviness.
So that would be
the
another thing,
vibration.
David, if, I mean, I assume we'll find a way to get this done for the homeowners, but, some restrictions on not parking construction equipment underneath the canopy, because the roots go that far. So anyway, if the owner was willing to maybe try to work a little bit, may not be a solution, but
Absolutely.
be
I
great for everyone.
Spoke with the Masters.
Good.
We'll,
And-
I'll coordinate with David. I'll have no problem getting out there with Mr. Martin.
Yeah, good. And I do want to just add something briefly. The reason I brought that up is the town is taking a fresh look at this thing called net zero carbon, and no point in explaining that, but it turns out these big old trees are hugely important to reducing carbon in the atmosphere and all the climate effects, as well as habitat.
The hardwoods especially.
The hardwoods, the big old hardwoods are like,
Yeah.
I don't know the formula, but they're like,
They're
10 or
gold.
20 smaller pine trees or something in total value.
Yep.
So I appreciate the homeowners' interest in trying to save, and the cooling, by the way. So anyway, a great goal. And then finally, the last question, we can talk about this later. Have you thought about replanting a couple of trees?
I didn't bring that up. I hadn't conversed that with the Masters. I mean, again, we weren't trying to,
Yeah.
we weren't trying to get into the ecology very much. We weren't taking any trees down. Our goal was to try and just utilize where they already have their existing pavement, limit the access of the additional pavement just so that they could gain access to the garage. And then personally for me, just because I'm familiar with the drainage and the snow melt and the dirt and grime that comes with that, just wanted to ensure that there was something at the end of that driveway where clearly all that snow and, David and I noticed it when you go out there, it's making its own path, and,
Yep.
it would be nice to fix that before it gets, to a
Yep.
point where it gets too bad,
Well, I appreciate your willingness to work with everybody, and I think
Absolutely.
everyone has the same goal here, so thank you.
All right, excellent.
Thanks, Peter. Moving on to Mark.
Yeah, I'm not real excited about this plan, especially I think the same thing as Peter is. I'd like to see the entrance come from the front. That's not my decision. I'm not gonna recommend it. I don't like it from the side. Cutting into the impervious and no disturbing. I don't see a big difference in elevation changes here. Is it 1 foot, 2 feet?
Yeah, 2 feet, and, how the house is set up, because remember, it's a split, so
Yeah.
it's really
Again,
how.
I'm not trying to redesign, that's not my thing, that's up to you guys. I don't think that's the way to go in this, that's it.
All right, Mark, thanks. Carl?
No, I think I'm good. I'm actually kind of curious, how did you find out the name of the canal is Moore's Canal?
It was on an old historical plan that I used to do the boundary.
Okay, all right. I know that space pretty well, up and down that canal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it called Moore's Canal, so that's interesting. Now, I'm curious to hear how David's, you've been a visit there, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so hear what he has to say.
All right, let's go to
Oh,
Dave
and Dave,
McLaughlin. We'll
yeah,
go to
that's
Dave
right. Sorry,
McLaughlin
Dave.
if Dave's out there. Dave, do you have any comments for us, questions?
Yes. One of the pictures you presented to us was the right-hand side of the driveway. There's a car parked in the turnaround, I guess. Where is the addition going to be relative to that car in the photograph?
Okay.
The car's in the turnaround to the right, the existing driveway turnaround to the right.
Yeah, is it the photograph that has kind of like the pool ladder leaning against the tree?
Yeah.
Yep. So that pavement extent would stay exactly the same. And the addition would be 27 feet from the back of that car towards the house. So let's guesstimate that car's 15 feet in length.
Okay, so
So-
it's 27, so it's 27 feet to the left.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so what are all these trees that are coming down?
No trees are coming down, sir. What we're
And
talking
what was
about,
all the what was all the discussion about?
we just want to protect those trees, sir. I think the city just had a concern that because the pavement expansion that we were proposing was in close proximity to those trees, but we aren't taking any of them down. We're just looking to protect them.
Oh, the only possibility is if they're so close to the house that the tree provides a safety problem, but I guess you would have addressed that.
We're comfortable leaving the trees where they are. We're glad to work with David and
am I
Mr.
and do I understand the wetlands is behind that car going into the woods?
That is correct, sir, yes.
And that wetlands drains to Stony Brook?
To the canal.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. This house was originally built, so it's grandfathered from our 50-foot no build, so that's not a problem. I have no problem with this.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks. Mr. Coons?
So I really like the improvements to the drainage on this. If you go out and look at the site, you can see that something really needs to be done. There's the water, the stormwater runoff is definitely sheet flowing in very large volumes from the driveway directly down into the brook. So I really like the design that Mr. Delania has proposed. Certainly, I think we should make every effort to save as many trees as possible, and hopefully we can do that. But I really want to see the drainage that he's proposing go in.
Well, thanks, David. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so if anyone from the public has any questions or comments for the applicant or for the commission, just let us know, and this is your opportunity. All right, doesn't look like we have any public questions or comments at this point. That's a good picture up there. Commissioners, any more questions and comments? We're still waiting on a DEP file number.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to continue this to our next meeting is May 23rd. So I'll be looking for.
I did speak with Allison. She, I can never say assured me, but she was pretty confident we'd have the DEP file number and comments prior to that meeting.
All right, good. So that would put us in a position to be able to close
Absolutely.
at our next meeting on the 23rd. So, David?
I was just gonna say, in the meantime, Kenneth, I'll arrange a meeting.
Absolutely.
With you, me, and Mr. Martin.
That'd be great.
Certainly, if anyone else wants to join us.
Good. Commissioners, any more questions, comments before we have a motion to continue to our next meeting? All right, do we have a motion then?
So moved.
Moved by Carl, seconded by, Dave McLaughlin had his hand up out there. Dave McLaughlin on the second. Any discussion, no discussion, all those in favor? Aye, so we're continued then to our next meeting, May 23rd.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your
Thanks,
time.
Kenneth. And thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Masters.
Thank you.
The next item we have is a notice of intent continued from April 25th, 2023. The Lighthouse School, at 25 Wellman Avenue. David Cowell from Hancock Associates, Inc. is representing the applicant. Thank you. David's passing out some updated plans.
New version of this, or same?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you, Brian.
Almost, I think he's all.
Yeah, David, if you can just give us the commission an update on what's happening.
Yeah, so for the record, Brian Goodrow. With,
Brian, excuse me.
with Hancock Associates, on behalf of Lighthouse School. So what I just passed out to you were our revised plans. And generally speaking, the changes to the plans had to do with fire department had a couple of questions, and primarily engineering. They had some housekeeping on drainage design kind of clarification. Sheet 7, however, of the plan set is our landscape plan. So James Emanuel is our registered landscape architect, and we set him free to create a planting palette, which is representative native species of trees, shrubs, grasses, perennials. And he also took some artistic license to the layout that we had generated previously and just went through the proposed construction area and came up with a much more, I guess, a better layout than what was represented previously, and something that's going to more accurately reflect what will be constructed out there. For trees, we have species like Douglas fir. We have some Princeton elm, honey locust, oaks and pines, shrubs, sumac, inkberry, dogwood. There's quite a list. It's at the center of the page on sheet 7. And then grasses and perennials to kind of fill out the plant beds that are there. We do actually have our lighthouse management team here. If there are any questions regarding ongoing operations, I know we had a question about the flooding last go around. And that's generally the update. So some basic housekeeping on the design side of it. We didn't change the layout or really anything germane to the building or site layout. It's really revolving around that landscape update on sheet 7. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Well, thank you, Brian. And again, we were just commenting earlier when we were looking at the plans that you guys did a great job on the detail of this shrub planting detail here and the plant palette. I mean, it's a really comprehensive list, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And again, I think Mr. McLaughlin made the comment before, Lighthouse School has been really a great member of the Chelmsford community, and it's great to have you folks here in front of us. You guys have excellent reputation out there in the education world, so we're good to see you here. But let's see if the commissioners have any questions. We'll start again down here at the end of this table. John, anything?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
We did have one question, wasn't it on the parking underneath or something,
Flood related?
flood related?
Related? No, David, you remember?
Part of their design, I assume.
Wasn't there something, a question on that?
Well, there was, but, I mean, it's outside the floodplain,
Okay,
so I think there was.
No, they also, the first floor is open space area with cars, and that's going to be compensatory flood storage area.
Correct.
Okay. John, anything else?
nope, not at this,
Good? All right.
still looking.
All right, we'll come back to you. But
No, this
Peter,
is-
see anything?
Yeah, two quick things. Compliments to your landscape person. And I just want to make the comment, some of us in town are taking a fresh look at sustainable design and what that nature-based solutions, and there's all these buzzwords. But really what it means is what you guys are designing here, which leads me to my comment. If you haven't thought about it, one thing we talk about in trying to get public interest in, everything we're doing here, wetlands and habitat and climate and all that stuff, is public outreach and education. And you guys are building, well, I'm not an expert, but it looks like a model of sustainable landscape design. Maybe you could incorporate that into your curriculum and get a double hit. And then I just had a very super quick comment. This is really trivial, but our tree expert tells me that one of the planting diagrams isn't quite right. He didn't look at these, but I think most of the current guidance is when you dig a hole and put a shrub or a bush in, try to put it on top of undisturbed earth. And one of the planting little diagrams says, put it on top of disturbed dirt. And I think the reason the arborists kind of talk about that is when you put it on top of disturbed soil, it settles. And I am told that what's called the root collar of a tree needs to be, within an inch or two of the surface in order for the tree to thrive. And I've made this mistake in my house. You dig a big giant hole and fill it with all kinds of great dirt thinking you're doing the right thing. And I never noticed. The thing settles a couple inches and then you wonder why it's not thriving. Minor point, but for what it's worth. But thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Mark?
No, the planting looks great. I have no comment at all. You're doing, it looks fine.
Good. Carl?
Same, good.
All right. Dave McLaughlin?
No comments.
Thanks, Dave. Mr. Coons?
So we have Nick Shaw of CEI here. Are you there, Nick?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Nick. So CEI reviewed the compliance with the performance standards for bordering land subject to flooding, AKA floodplain, 100-year floodplain for this project. So if anyone has any questions on that aspect of it, now is the time to ask Nick.
Good. I mean, Nick, are there any issues that you want to flag to us? Any problems, or are you good with everything you've reviewed?
Yeah, no, everything's in compliance from my end. There was initially they had a couple contour elevations, specifically elevation 100 and 102, and 102 to 104. It was calculated at 2-foot intervals instead of 1 foot. So from a reviewer standpoint, it's kind of hard to see if they were in compliance with compensatory flood storage. But Hancock Associates did update to do it at a 1-foot interval, so I was able to confirm that they are in fact in compliance. And I didn't have any issue with some of the other regulatories.
Good.
So Nick, you didn't put it in your review letter, so I'm assuming you don't have any recommendations. You're not recommending any special conditions with regard to the compensatory flood storage issue, do you?
No, they are completely in compliance, and they're actually providing more flood storage than what was previously there.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Good. Well, thank you, Nick. Peter, question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question for Nick and maybe Brian, and please bear with me, I'm kind of curious. Was there an O&M plan prepared for the stormwater system? And I apologize, I have not read it, but I take advantage and ask Nick. Nick, is that something that you looked at as well? And if you did look at the O&M plan for the stormwater system, are you comfortable that the system will work year over year and not create some future maintenance problems for the owner?
If I remember correct, I believe that was part of the NOI package that was presented to me, and I didn't see any issues with their O&M plan.
Okay, just point taken, I guess, is if you don't, whatever is required, the designer knows this better than I, but that is something to think about, is keeping them operating long-term. And we're
Okay.
not gonna talk about what that means, because I'll get lost.
Brian, does this require a construction general permit?
It does.
Okay, which will require a SWIP.
Correct.
So that'll be a condition in the order of conditions that, that needs to be submitted to the commission prior to the start of work.
And David, the land disturbance permit is triggered?
This is an acre or more, right?
It is.
So, yeah, that'll be, I don't know whether DPW is mentioned or not, but they will need to issue a land disturbance permit.
Yep. So we're working with Tony right now to square away any of those last kind of trailing items.
And then, David, nothing back from Mass DEP?
Oh, we have a file number.
Well, we have the file number, but any comments or anything?
No
issues?
comments.
Okay.
No, really. I think we can go ahead and close the hearing.
Okay, good. This is a public hearing, so if anybody from the public has any questions or comments before we close the hearing, please raise your hand, identify yourself. All right, no public comments. Any kind of questions or comments before we close the hearing from any of the commissioners?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Douglas fir? That, I didn't think they were native to this area.
But are we purists?
I know. I'm like, look at him, going, it's West Coast, Northwest Coast. North America, yes, but,
We're gonna try.
Oh,
sorry, I'm just,
You know what? You know what?
James, no.
The head of the school wanted a Douglas fir.
no comment, no, just fine,
All right,
I'm good.
all right. Then, do we have a motion then to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Carl on the motion to close, seconded by Mark. So motion by Carl, seconded by Mark. Any discussion before we vote to close the hearing? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So it's unanimous. And then we have, we need to now have a motion to approve, would be standard order of conditions. Any special conditions, David, we should add?
No, I don't think there really are any. I think this is
Okay.
pretty standard for a project of this type.
Good, excellent, good. All right, good. So can we have a motion then to approve with the standard order of conditions?
So moved.
Okay, Carl on the motion, and seconded by Peter. Any discussion before we vote? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, unanimous. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, very good.
Thank you.
Good
Good
luck with
luck.
the project.
Good luck.
Very good. And that completes our regulatory hearings for this evening. Next up on the agenda is a discussion item with respect to the Hart Pond spillway maintenance. David, could you give us a little background on this issue and what's happening here and what we need to
Sure.
talk about?
Guess there isn't anyone. Are you here from Hart Pond? Okay. I'm the damn guy. You're the damn guy?
You're Chris.
That damn guy, okay. He's-
What's your name? Steve, okay. Okay, good to see you. I had asked Sylvia Willard from, who was the Carlisle agent, to be here, but she was evidently not able to make it, so, the question, I mean, there have been a number of issues raised, but I think the immediate trigger was when the flashboards were just recently put back into the dam spillway, which I know is done on a seasonal basis, that then noticeably reduced the flow down to Carlisle, and I guess Sylvia got a couple calls down there. What's going on? Why is there suddenly so much less water that we're getting here in Carlisle? So I explained to Sylvia the reason is that the boards were just recently put back in to the spillway in order to raise the water level of Hart Pond. For the spring and summer season, which is typically done. So that then sort of led to a discussion about, under what authority is this being done? I mean, there is no existing order of conditions. It's no longer a working cranberry bog down in Carlisle, which I think you could have said that it had an agricultural exemption to be able to seasonally adjust the water level. I gather that the cranberry bog was discontinued back in either 2015 or 2016, something like that. So the agricultural exemption only lasts for 5 years. After
They did get a new 10-year license
but
for harvesting purposes.
okay, but the agricultural exemption had since expired, since it was over 5 years. So that would, I mean, if Carlisle wants, additional water, I think that would require the filing of a new notice of intent. Having said that, I'm still researching, Sylvia's still researching whether there's some other exemption. I guess she has looked into it, and she's spoken to Mary Ann DePinto, whom I know quite well, and has worked for 30-plus years, the DEP Central Regional Office, and they seem to have the perception that this is exempt under riverfront area regulations, but I'm not seeing that. I think probably I will myself consult with DEP on this, but I think the bottom line is if there is not an exemption that can be cited for doing this seasonal adjustment of the water level, is that I think there will have to be a notice of intent filed to do that if that is going to continue, which I presume the Hard Pond folks.
Well, not only that, but it's for the dam itself. I mean, the water level has to go down.
Mhm.
To cement, spillway. If the ice gets a hold of it, it just rips it, it's gonna rip it apart. So when the water levels drop down, the cement is totally out of the water. And you're right, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. And every spring, the water stops. Right now, she's not having a problem, because there's 4 inches of water going over the top of the dam.
Yep.
I don't know what her end game or what she's looking for. I do know last year she was there during the drought we had.
Speak at the.
Oh, I can if you want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it might be good to
I'm sorry.
go closer to the mic,
Thank you.
yes.
Again, Steve Christopher, 26 Fifth Lane. I've been doing the dam for quite a while, and it's been the same. Do know, I think I talked to David, or I talked to, maybe it was Dave that you sent to Pam Ravad, that there was a concern about when the boards go in. I mean, and it's, I let everybody and their brother know in this fall, when the water is released. Obviously, that's the biggest concern anybody has. But in the spring, I've never had to really notify anybody. And it's always been Patriots Day and Columbus Day. Those are the general rules, given, whatever the conditions would warrant. And this year, with the ramp being approved upon over at the beach, there was a little bit of a delay. But Trevor Collins, he was outstanding. And, I worked real hard and real close with him. And one set of boards did go in, and immediately it was like, where did all the water go? And it happens every spring until the water level comes up and Hot Pond spills over, and then they get all the water they need down there.
Right. No, certainly speaking from a personal perspective, I don't think there are any issues with you.
No, I don't either. I just was kind of curious what the end game was, because last year, during that real bad drought we had, she was actually walking the dam, Sylvia, looking for more water, and we were down 14 inches.
Yeah, no, and I don't think she's the one raising the concern. Again, I think
Yeah.
she's hearing from Carlisle residents. I've already had a couple of preliminary conversations with Trevor. So DPW would file the notice of intent.
And what does that, again, help me with the notice of intent, what does that actually mean?
That's requesting formal permission from the Conservation Commission.
Oh, okay.
Pursuant to state and town regulations for the approval of this activity.
I see.
and-
So would the town take it over?
Yeah, I think that's what I've had the conversations with Trevor about so far. I mean, obviously, it's not just my decision or his decision. But I mean, it just my sense from him is I think that's something that DPW is willing to take over, assuming the commission were to approve it.
Okay.
I think that as far as getting approval, I think the main issue is, what is the justification?
Right, again, for 20, longer than that, I mean, I still go to the town DPW to get boards for the dam. I get them from the town when I need them. It was a job that the town did years ago, and for whatever reason, whoever was in charge, they just didn't, there was all kinds of issues, but it hasn't been any issues since I've been there.
Yeah. Can I throw out a couple questions? This is informal, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, well, Steve.
Peter,
Yes.
before you do that, let me add to
Sure.
Steve's
Yeah.
history, if I might. The first point I'd like to make is the fact that these boards are raised and lowered during the year is not new to anybody. Chelmsford has been doing this from time immemorial, almost. And in fact, as Steve will attest to, there is a telephone tree of selected abutters along the outflow from Hart Pond all the way down to Mill Pond, because one of the end results, obviously, is you want to be aware of if there's going to be an overflow issue down at the Mill Pond. So it's not news that we do something in April and we do something in October. To the best of my knowledge, and it could be incorrect, the reason that was originally put in place was to build up enough water in Hart Pond that come the fall, in cranberry season, you could flood the cranberry areas so they could do the harvesting.
That's correct.
That was the primary reason for building the water up in Hart Pond. because what also went with that, and as David indicated, and I think we all know this, the 5-year agricultural exemption, I think, has passed. And in fact, there is no operating lease for the Cranberry Bog in Carlisle today. So there is no commercial operation whatsoever. But that was in addition to allowing the water out of Hart Pond to flood for harvesting, there was also the ability for the farmer in Carlisle, in an emergency situation, to draw the water out of Hart Pond to protect his harvest. In the 30-odd years I've been on the Conservation Commission, I am unaware of that ever happening.
Right.
That there was an emergency. Now, you could also think of a reason which had nothing to do with cranberry harvesting, where you might want to adjust the water level in an emergency situation. And as it turns out, over time, we started saying, well, look, the homeowners, the abutters in Chelmsford, could benefit from a higher water level in the springtime and summer until the cranberry bog needs the water from Chelmsford. So that over time, there were two reasons for manipulating those boards. One was an aesthetic reason, and the other was a business reason. That's where we are today. I also believe that, Stephen, you said you've been around for about 20-odd years. I think at one point in time, the highway department in Chelmsford actually maintained those boards, and the private citizens did not. And in part, that was because there was no real active homeowners association. It's only fairly recently, 20, 30 years, where the homeowners association has done a super job managing Hart Pond.
Hart Pond Association, yeah.
Point of fact, I wish we had a homeowners association around Freeman Lake for similar kinds of reasons. So at that point, the highway department said, let's let the residents maintain this, and we'll be available for major maintenance if it's needed. And that is effectively the current situation today.
You are accurate, absolutely.
So, Peter, you wanted to say something. I'll comment, make some suggestions later, but Peter, you're saying.
Yeah, you captured a couple of mine. Quick question. I'm just curious. In your experience, roughly, how long does it take for the lake to fill in the spring? I know it depends on how much it rains.
It depends on how much it rains.
But
right.
for example, and then related to that is, what is the specific downstream complaint or concern? I mean, are they concerned about like critters in the stream? Are they concerned about the future if they somehow manage to harvest cranberries again? What exactly, do you know? Anyone know?
Well,
what the issue
Yeah, I
is?
do.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I think there are two issues. One is downstream abutters who are unaware of the history and the situation get concerned when they see their stream drying up, and and it turns out there's a reason for it. Right. That's one of them. I forget what the other was. There are downstream in Carlisle. They historically and fairly recently have had significant beaver problems.
Yes, I was just going to.
That they often attribute to the ponds upstream.
Right.
Which is not correct, but.
And what I've found over the years, just to kind of answer your question on critters, I've found over the years, working hand in hand with the town, DPW, Conservation, Health Department, trying to help with the beaver problems that are out there. Over the last 5 years, I find every fall the water takes a little bit longer to go out, which tells me down under 27 towards Carlisle, there's more families out there. It's slowing it down.
Sure.
So that's another thing that needs to be addressed down the road too, to make sure that someday the board isn't pulled and it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
And then we have major problems over there at that point.
And I think there might, I mean, you tell me if this is correct, but I have some experience with a similar situation with a whole bunch of lakes in a different state. And one of the big reasons they dropped the water, well, emergency flood control should there be a hurricane. I don't know if that's really true of Hart Pond.
I don't believe
But the other reason is the ice crushes the docks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for the most
So
part.
there's a
people-
lot of reasons to do it.
You know, me from being on the pond for so many years, if you're silly enough to leave your dock in, you get what you deserve. And second of all, you know, I've always been explained to me, especially from Dave, is the way it was designed when the Army Corps built that earthen dam over there with the spillway. It's just a straight cement slab. And
Yeah, I've seen it.
during a normal, like right now, it is 3/4 covered by water. It's doing its job, and if it stays that way, that we're going to have some serious trouble. So that's why the dropping of the water has always been, again, for the harvest, for all those years that I was doing it, not recently, and then now for the protection of the spillway, it has to go down. So, and again, if you choose to do it through the town or not do it any longer, and you leave it at a certain low level, well, then the spillway isn't really, doing anything. It's just a little brook running through at that point. So, I mean, I know that, like I said, I don't have I do have a little bit of a problem. I've been doing it for a long time. It's near and dear to my heart. But
How much you get paid, Steve?
I get paid just as much as you're getting paid, Dave. Nothing. I do this because I care about the town and I care about the lake, the pond. And been doing it for a lot of years. But if you feel as though, and Dave was 100% right. At that point in time, I don't even remember who was in charge of DPW at the time, that basically said, there's so much going on, you guys take care of it, because we're more in tune. We live right there. We see it every day.
Yep.
Every day. So,
Yeah, and I would just like to add, you all probably know this, but the history in this country is littered with arguments over water levels
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is not
Right.
unusual.
No, it's not unusual.
Disagreements on,
It's
or
not.
misunderstandings.
It's not. But again, learning it, I know 28 inches from the top of the board to the top of the dam, that's where it needs to be. Not 30, because if 30 is hit, I'm causing a lot of problems out there. I mean, it's been a learning process, but yeah, no, it's a good situation. I like it. But, whatever you guys decide. I
All
just
right,
wanted
let's see
to.
if any other commissioners have any questions, comments. Mark?
It seems to be working.
Yeah.
And again, before this happened, Mark, I have apprentices that I'm teaching, because someday I'm not going to be able to do it.
Right.
And they're just as the people that live on the pond that just want to get involved, just like I did.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah.
Best saying said.
Mark, the only thing that's broken is when our neighbors in Carlisle want more water.
There you go.
It's too bad to live downstream.
Well, that gets to what Peter said
Well,
a few minutes ago.
Well, yeah, but,
Except nothing's changed, really.
well, nothing's changing, and we give them every drop we have eventually.
Yeah. They're getting all the water they have ever got. Nothing's changed, as
Right.
far as I can tell, if I read the situation right. So
All right,
I'm good.
all right, good. Mr. McLaughlin, any more you want to say? Just something you've been close
Steve,
to?
do you envision any major maintenance required on the spillway in the next 10 years?
Do I know? If everything is, there is no deterioration. If Dave wants to send the DPW over to take an inspection of it, take a look at it, I'm not an engineer, obviously, but I'm there enough. No, there is no deterioration. It acts exactly the way the purposes were made for. I don't see anything going wrong with it, other than messing with it, I guess. By not,
Yeah, Chris, my recommendation is pretty much is what Mark Gibbs said, I think. It's not broken, so we don't need to fix it. I would say that we don't have to do it because of the cranberry bog in April and October. There might be other months that are better, although I don't think there are. But we should recognize that we are not managing the water level to accommodate the growing of cranberries in Carlisle. That's not a reason. If we are managing the water levels in Hart Pond, it's primarily for stormwater management, if you will, in case there's a major flood or in case there is some negative effect from a drought that could be ameliorated by working with the boards. I do think maybe the DPW should be a bit more involved. As good as the Hart Pond Association is today, someday in the near future, or someday in the future, the homeowners might not be quite as rigorous or religious about maintaining that stuff. Whereas DPW, assuming the town is here, will always be that way. And they do, remember, they do maintain the spillway up at Freeman Lake. So, I mean, they do have some knowledge in that area.
Right.
So, basically, I wouldn't change anything unless there's a reason to, and can't think of any right now.
Okay, good.
I do, Dave Coons may be right. Maybe
Right.
we should cross the Ts and dot the Is, and if an NOI is required, we should do it just so that we have the ability to adjust the water levels in the case of an emergency.
So, certainly what I'm hearing is that, the desire is to maintain the status quo, if possible, and toward that end, I'll continue to research, whether it can be done, whether there is an exemption. But if ultimately word comes back that, well, no, there is no exemption that's available for this to continue, and, a notice of intent should be filed, then, ultimately, it's the commission's, decision as to whether to require that. I think if it should be done through a notice of intent and an order of conditions, I think the risk in not doing it is that, some disgruntled resident of Carlisle will file a complaint with DEP, and the first thing they'll do is I will hear from DEP, either, cease and desist pending the filing of a notice of intent. So that, I think, is the risk, if it turns out a notice of intent is required, but it's not filed.
That makes sense.
And you don't want to take that risk just before the pond freezes
Yeah, that,
or opens up for everybody in the summer.
that's certainly an important consideration, yeah.
That makes sense.
All right, well, it sounds like you got to do some more research and report back to us.
And I'll be happy to show the DPW guys how to do it, if that comes down that way.
I mean, they may-
Or I'll just keep doing it for $1 a year. How's that?
I don't want to speak for them, but my guess is that they're happy to have the help.
Exactly.
So,
And we're happy to give it. That's why we've
Yeah.
been doing it for so many years. Okay.
Well, thanks, Mr. Christopher,
Well,
for
thanks,
coming in
guys. I
today.
appreciate the
Thank you.
hearing.
Appreciate
Yes.
it.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
All right.
Thank you for what you've done for the town.
Interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much, it's right. We appreciate it. Land management, update. Carl.
Yeah, I got a couple of things, but should go fast. So we're still waiting to hear from Chris Alphen on the CR, waiting on that. We do have a quote from LeMazier. I think Phil brought it to you, David?
Yes, yeah,
The
so,
granite sign.
so I think they can be told to go ahead and put it in.
I think it's not until June, I think he said was last I heard.
Oh, okay.
But have you placed a purchase order with them?
My understanding is that's not necessary
Okay.
to do. What we just need is the invoice after.
Got it. Okay,
after it's
all
been
right.
done.
And we need to also, we should probably connect with Christine about finding a vendor for a brass marker for the other, a brass sign. If we can do that. So just, we had a great walk on Saturday at Russell Mill. We looked at the parking areas, the cleanup of all the brush, the number trails, and it was really crowded. I mean, we were there at 9 o'clock, we got there, and by the time we left, 10:30, parking lot was filled out. It was really something. Interestingly, the next morning, David got a notice, was it the next, yeah, it was Sunday morning. Somebody had tipped over the porta potty. I pointed out, hey, there's a porta potty here in the driveway, in the parking lot. And the next morning, there was a mountain bike clinic, and they said, hey, somebody tipped over the porta potty. So it turns out that that's CYSA, the youth soccer, is the one who contracts to have that delivered there. So they contacted that service provider, and they're going to, if they haven't, hopefully they've already done it, righted that and cleaned it. And Sue Rosa from the Public Health had asked that there be some documentation that it was cleaned up properly. So Hopefully, we'll see all that. I didn't hear any more. Have you?
No, but thank you, Carl. I did not know that Mr. Emerson, didn't know he
John.
was the person to contact, so thank you for,
He's the field manager for CYSA.
that's
may-
good to know.
Maybe they'll nail it down somehow.
Just put it by the brook. Put
I-
it right by the.
I'll just say quickly on a somewhat related note, they need a new MOU from us to be able to continue to use
Oh,
Millie's
soccer.
Field.
Yeah, because the old one was 10 years, right?
Yeah.
The one
so
Dave
that-
did.
that-
Did the old
that-
one expire?
Yeah.
so
I
That
think-
expired December 21.
Really?
We've had some communication with them and the town manager's office about, getting a new MOU, but nothing yet. I don't know whether the commission wants to really push that or not.
We should.
We should have, an effective
date.
MOU, in effect, even if we at least do an extension
Yeah.
of the old one, at least have something in place.
We should up the rent. Oh, wait, we don't charge the rent.
But it's good, because it clearly delineates who's responsible for what,
Yeah. I think.
I would push it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe a little bit of the holdup has been that I think they've wanted maybe the town to pay more of the maintenance costs for the parking lot. So we'll see. We'll see if that is in fact the issue.
Is there a formal MOU with the bike club that's active there?
I believe
And
so.
What's the timeline on that? I mean, you should coordinate the two, right?
Yeah.
No,
Or the
I'm
terms.
not aware that there was a formal MOU with.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
There
I think
is?
there is.
Okay.
I think there is.
Dave, you got a copy of that? I know we have that.
I think
Okay.
I do
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Okay, let me get in touch with them. But I think that's just NEMBA, right?
It's, yeah, Barry
Yes.
Moore.
There are other mountain biking clubs that do use it besides NEMBA. I
Right.
guess NEMBA maintains the biking trails.
NEMBA maintains the trails, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll see if I can get a copy of that.
Then, Carl, I had a question. We
Yep.
don't have to debate this, but there's two parking lots there. The big one right by the trails was full that Saturday we were out there. And there was no soccer game. So that leaves the small parking area rather, smaller one, I think it's smaller, empty, because the bikers are all at one end. But I'm just curious, does that MOU, is there any potential of a soccer tournament or even a regular soccer Saturday? Is there going to become a conflict as the more and more bikers get the word?
There, well.
A parking problem.
Yeah, there have been problems over the years on Saturday mornings in particular when you have a soccer clinic morning at the same time that mountain bikers go and use it.
We've had to mediate some issues.
So what we've done is that we actually consider it three lots. There's the A lot in the front,
Right.
right by the entrance. There's the B lot, which is the big one, and then
Right.
there's a C lot, which is where we walk
The one that's gated.
past the gate. So that C lot, we haven't opened the gate. It's not locked. I mean, but you could just push that, anybody could just push the gate open. And we kind of we cleared it up so that if the soccer or mountain biking wanted to open it, they could do it. This past season, we didn't hear any complaints. I know that the soccer clinics, they don't go every year, if I remember. They alternate from sites to make sure their grass gets a break, I guess. So
Okay, but you're
maybe they didn't use it, but.
But the leaders of those groups know that they can simply push the gate open if they
Yeah.
have a park. So
Yeah,
that-
yeah, we've
Good.
had a few meetings and conversations.
There've been meetings on site. Dave McLaughlin, you have something to add?
Yeah, you guys are incorrect on the MOU. The MOU says the term of this MOU shall be 10 years from the initial date of the MOU and from year to year thereafter, provided that CSA and/or the Concom, upon a 3-year notice, may terminate this MOU. So it's still in effect.
That's
That
good,
doesn't
Dave.
mean- That doesn't mean we can't amend it, but it's still in effect.
Or
Oh, great.
revisit it, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was worried that it had gone inactive, but that's good that it's active.
But Dave, you said it's good for 10 years?
It was
No,
a
I-
10-year agreement and thereafter, from year to year thereafter.
For a period of 3 years?
No, forever.
Okay.
But if somebody wants to terminate it, they have to give the other party 3-year notice.
Oh, okay.
And the reason it was 3-year notice is we wanted to make sure that the youth soccer people enough time to find somewhere else to play ball.
Okay, sorry, I got that
Yeah.
wrong.
I'll send you a copy of it.
Hey, Dave, this is Peter. So some thoughtful individual wrote that language a while back, right?
We
Yeah,
worked on it. It was a team effort. I know I looked at it closely.
It's been a
Dave.
lawyer
Yeah,
involved.
we worked on it.
Just one other issue with regard to use of the fields that I wanted to make the commission aware of, and I don't know whether you think it's a big deal or not, but I know that not too long ago, I got a request from someone working at a private company nearby. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I think it was a high-tech or aerospace company.
Yeah,
that-
they have their one out on Maple Street.
Yeah, maybe it was
Yeah,
maybe it was Lockheed.
they have an annual party at our reservation.
Well, I guess they either maybe some foreign clients or clients that played soccer. They wanted to use Murphy's Field. That's the one at Russell Fun. I asked them to coordinate with CYSA.
Right,
And-
they have during soccer season, it's CYSA's right to allow other uses of the field.
But CYSA said no. They
Okay.
were worried that, I don't know, it might have a detrimental impact to the field that
Yeah.
would affect. So, okay, well, that's good to know then, that they have the right to say no.
I'll send you the MOU, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So a couple more things. There was,
Incidentally, I'm sorry, Carl.
Yep.
While I'm here in agony, I find all this stuff that you don't care about. Peter, the MOU with with NEMBA is a year-to-year MOU, but there's a 6-month notice to renew it or terminate it.
they have.
So so that
poorer
one's
terms
active
than
too.
Soccer. So,
Dave, is that an auto renew on that too?
I'm sorry?
Is that an auto renew?
Yes, it goes from year to year.
Okay. Thanks.
So just,
sorry.
there was some Facebook reports of Deep Brook Reservation having some artwork on the site, placed on the site. I went up there yesterday and I didn't find it on Deep Brook. In fact, I didn't even find it on Oak Hill, which is connected, sorta, kinda. It was at the Scotty Hollow entrance on the Scotty Hollow property, but it's kinda cool looking stuff. But in the meantime, the person, and I posted that to reply to this person, and he said, no, there's more out there, and I walked the whole site. I don't know where, so I'm gonna follow up on that, but,
Was our source pretty reliable source of?
yeah, no, it's one of the neighbors up there who said that. and,
Graffiti or artwork?
No, it's real artwork, it's actually kinda cool looking stuff, clever and, yeah.
What is it?
But it's just placed on some rocks, it's just sitting there. If somebody said, get rid of it, it'd take 10 minutes to get rid
Oh,
of it.
so it's not like a bucket of paint on the rocks?
No,
It's-
no, so,
Yeah.
but it does, there were a lot of people saying, oh, leave it there, make sure, leave it, why would anybody take it away? And, it's like, in principle, it doesn't do any real harm, but, it's the old thing, like, okay, the next thing you know, we're gonna have people spray
Someone else
painting
will say it's
trees and,
graffiti, yeah,
all
it's
kinds of
graffiti.
stuff, so, anyway, just a
Any
heads up.
political content, or is it?
No, just some dogs. It's actually, what it is coil springs from like a tractor or a truck. And
tractor
they turned
dog.
that into a dog, and there were like 5 of them. So it's clever, it's
Not
cool.
me,
Tractor, huh?
me.
The only other thing is, the town meeting was 2 weeks ago, and the acquisition of the Wilson Lane property was approved. So that should go through, and the purchase and sale should be pretty straightforward.
Closing should be pretty soon.
Yeah,
You know,
that should happen.
I'll report
soon.
to the commission as soon as that takes
And
place.
we should keep following up with the other adjacent property, so we can talk about that.
Carl, is that gonna be in our name?
Yes, I believe the wording of it was for the conservation.
Conservation,
Yep,
yes.
yes, it was,
Good.
yep. The other thing is, there was an approval for the Community Preservation Fund to transfer from the general reserve into a fund that conservation can use. This is $50,000, so that, for capital improvement projects, I guess it happens every few years, so that happened. And then the other thing was kind of what we talked about earlier, the two-shore drive easement was passed. Fair amount of discussion, but it passed, so. That's it.
Thanks,
Land
Carl.
management done.
Good, land management, very good.
Can I add something?
Peter, yeah.
I think it's land management. Two quick things. Carl and I and Dave have been working with Evan Belansky on getting some funding to update the open space and recreation plan. And we're taking care of it, unless, if you want more info, contact one of us. And Carl, I had another thing for you on the other thing we're working on, or you're working on, we're all working on, the master plan implementation meeting. We can talk offline about this, but David Coons and I had a nice chat about one item in that implementation plan. I don't recall we discussed at length
Okay.
last week, which is the idea of creating a watershed management plan for the major water courses in town, which is, of course, a huge project and a big nut, and that's probably why we don't really talk about it. But Dave Coons and I had a very interesting chat about that. So I would suggest, if you're willing or want to, keep that on the list in the master plan. It should come up anyway. They'll ask if anything's happening. And, I mean, if you wanted to put on a good spin, you could say there's been some talk, but I mean, that's a big nut. That's an outside consultant. That's a big project, big projects. I don't personally have it on my radar, but boy, that would wrap together a lot of things we've been working on if it was in a coherent, long-range plan.
Okay.
But down the road
We can
later.
talk, yep. That implementation meeting is next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. And I'll be there. I'll do the update from our meeting last week. Thanks all for participating.
And do you have?
I am connecting with Christine. She's connected. We've traded emails, so she's gonna have her updates.
Okay.
I gotta double check. I may reach out to you for some tree committee stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there anything else you need
I-
or
I-
need
I
help
need
with?
to-
Give a yell.
I need to look.
Tree committee meeting tomorrow, Thursday night. If you get to me before then, I'll
Okay.
check with the
Well,
arborist.
you have the list. It's the same list.
Oh,
So
all
if
right.
there's anything on that document that has tree committee on there, if you wanna have them just look at that, there were only
Yeah.
12 total, so it's maybe
Yeah.
2 or 3.
I think you and I covered that in the couple of meetings we've had, but thank you.
But
I'll
if the tree
double check.
committee has something to add, I don't think there's anybody from the tree committee on this implementation.
I don't think
I
so.
remember.
Not on the
But
list
I
I
don't
saw.
know. I'm still kinda new to that, so I haven't figured out everybody, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to comment, I don't know, it's exciting to me, Dave Coons reaching out to Jim Martin and the applicant on Doral Drive, interested in working out a solution. I think, in my experience, my 1 year here or less, that's something new, but that's exciting, because, Jim Martin is a real arborist, not,
Well, he knows his
Armchair
stuff.
one.
He knows his stuff. That's clear to me.
right?
So hopefully we can, reach a resolution on
But,
this.
but I like the increased coordination that you're also suggesting, Carl, on the master plan. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
All right, very good. Agents report, we've got, any
Littleton
updates on
Road.
Littleton Road,
In Littleton?
0 Littleton Road, 221 Littleton Road, Littleton Road?
Okay, so if you recall, 0 Littleton Road was where the property owner put in a driveway, or
The driveway
Some sort of
to nowhere,
access.
yeah, to nowhere, yeah.
right. And so we directed him to, first step was to get the wetlands delineated by a professional, which has been done. She went on vacation for 2 weeks, said that she would contact me when she got back, and we'd go out and do a site visit. So she's been back for a while, haven't heard from her. In the meantime, a storage container has sprung up on the property. So it looks like I'm gonna have to chase her to get this, started again. I'm planning on telling both her and the property owner, gotta get the storage container out of there.
Yeah, it's gotta go, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
We'll stay on top of it, that's
Yeah.
good.
It just landed from the sky.
Came out of nowhere.
materialized from parallel universe, huh?
I think there's an oil truck in it.
Another truck, Dave.
Yeah, that's the one, that's a little further down Middleton Road.
So where are
So,
we on
yeah,
that
so
one?
speaking of oil trucks.
There you go, 221.
So I heard
That
from
was really good.
the owner's attorney of 221 Littleton Road. She told me, she had no idea there was wetlands there. He is conducting a retail oil delivery service out from the property. She told me that he does have a site engineer. And she, the attorney, told me that she would contact the site engineer or the property owner's engineer about the concern, and would get back to me. I also asked her to be at tonight's meeting. Again, she, the attorney, she was not able to be, so she said tentatively she could make the 23rd, but I want to hear from the engineer, and really, I'm very much inclined to say that a notice of intent needs to be filed.
Right.
If that's what the use of that property is going to be.
Yeah.
So again, it looks like I'll have to chase this one down as well, but that's what I'm planning to say to the engineer.
Well, I think we support you in that, David.
I don't think anybody's comfortable having those trucks parked there.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask, totally out of our jurisdiction, but right next to the big apartment building?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's more so to the brook that runs right adjacent to it.
Yes.
I'm wondering if does running a business there, is there planning board implications?
Well, that's what I meant, is,
Uh,
yeah.
Site plan review?
What's that?
Site plan review?
Apparently that's not required. I mean, apparently, well, this is according to the attorney. I guess I should check with Evan. But apparently it's, she said she was told by the building inspector, it's an allowed use by right, which I guess it doesn't even.
Allowed use by right?
Right, which, I mean, that can be covered by a site plan review, a requirement for site plan review. But apparently that's not needed, but.
Hey, guys, what was originally there when that building was put up? Do you remember?
Insurance.
Bill Hennessy, insurance.
Yeah.
Was insurance agent.
Yeah, so I
Insurance
thought.
agent.
Yeah.
This is a change in use. I mean, no
Oh,
doubt
yeah,
about
then it was a
that.
hairdresser.
Yeah.
Hairdresser is what I
Yeah,
remember.
but Bill Hennessy used to run his insurance business out of there. Misty Meadows.
So.
Well, keep the pressure on, yeah.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
yeah, you're like Mr. History down here at the end of the table here.
I've lived in town all my life.
There you go.
I used to ride my
We
bike.
got Swenson on the commission to replace Bobby Greenwood.
He is, yeah.
Just the one other thing I'll mention is, I've heard from the Lunas that, I guess it's, ATVs and off-road vehicles are tearing up the easement over there off of River Neck where the turtle's nest. So, I'm gonna take a look at it with Joel, on Thursday. And, hopefully, we can get that stopped, but it might be a matter of involving the police department.
Yeah,
to-
that's what I'm thinking. You're gonna have to team up with the
So,
police department probably.
so I mean, I think it's
Well,
unfortunate.
Dave, we may need to get some informational signs up there too.
Yep, signs, that's what the Lunas would like to see, signs, and that should be done, but I don't think signs by themselves are gonna prevent it.
No, because the kids will take them down.
Yeah, and I know in other towns, we've had
Do we
limited.
know, are they coming in from Carter Drive? Do we know where they're coming in from?
I don't know, but I'll definitely get that information from Joel, or at least where he thinks they're coming from. In other towns where there's been this problem, we've had limited success with putting up surveillance cameras. They don't always last very long either, but but it's certainly happened in some cases where they've been up long enough to be able to identify who's doing it and then, get them to stop. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Are they riding on the area that National Grid cleared out there? Is that
Yeah,
one of the?
yeah. But National Grid doesn't care,
No, well, my point being, they look at it and it's so disturbed that they don't think, not the kids care anyways, but.
Right.
Well-
Yeah, I mean, power line easements are used by off-road vehicles all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah, and that's true in other parts of the power lines in town
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily turtle habitat.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, David? Do you want to flag for us? Okay, good. Good. Chris, anything from planning board you want to report on?
Patient man.
The only thing I wanted to mention is that in tomorrow's meeting, we'll be reviewing draft policies that our subcommittee has put together. There are a couple items that I think we're recommending be reviewed by you guys, and a couple items that we're going to be recommending some updates on, because I think they were created back in about 20 years ago. So we're going to ask probably some review from you and some coordination between the two groups.
Good. Thanks.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah,
why is Chris here?
I am the liaison from the planning board to this commission.
Is this something new? I
Well-
think it's great. We never had one before.
I believe that there has been one in name, but maybe not always an active.
Dave, we've had some.
Is Dave Kuntz do the same thing with your planning board?
No.
No, what
Really?
I've been trying to do is report back to the planning board, and then if there's anything that needs to be reported back here.
I think it's a great first step. I'm glad to see it happening. And we should make what we do as, make sure you have as much information as you need about us as you want.
Yep.
And if I could ask a question of everybody, Chris, it would be great too. A lot of times, big projects come to you before us, and I think on this commission, we all try to keep track of the planning board, but not always. So
Yeah.
you'd
What
give
I-
us a heads up if there's something.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a couple notes for one of the sessions tonight that hasn't been brought before the board yet, so I'm going to keep track of that. I'm guessing it'll probably come up in one of the next couple of meetings. But I'm also taking some of the notes that you have back to the planning board, and then if there are issues and questions from the planning board, I'll make sure to bring them back to you as well.
And so the list of support that you're referring to, or whatever the right words are here, does that include stormwater? My favorite topic?
So there is some discussion around stormwater in one of the policies, I think, or procedures. And so one of the recommendations I'm going to have is that there's a tighter connection between the groups. Before the last planning board meeting, we did have a workshop with the DPW. We went over all of the things that they look at for their review of the site plans and stormwater. That was really helpful. So one of the things that I suggested is that we have a regular, almost a roundtable between the DPW, the commission, and the planning board to talk about some of the coordination of stormwater reviews and things like that. So that'll be probably discussed in one of the policy discussions tomorrow.
Oh, that's great. And a couple members of this group had a meeting the week or two prior to
Yep.
that with Christine and
Yep.
Tony and others, and sort of a similar, I sat in on the one planning board you're mentioning, and
Yep.
I just want to say this is fantastic because I don't know how others feel, but I mean, the stormwater program is still a little bit new. I mean, it's been around for a few years, but I think everybody is working out, the details of how we all coordinate. And I find that very helpful sitting here on the commission to really understand what our experts are doing over at, in Christine's shop. So they're doing a good job, and
Yeah, before I
good.
joined the planning board, I participated in the River Neck project a lot, and what I noticed
You're
is
being
that,
modest.
and what I noticed is that the coordination between the three groups for the stormwater was very lacking. So one of the things I'd like to do as part of being part of the planning board is to bring a little bit coordination between the groups, at least a better understanding of what each group is looking at when it looks at the stormwater reports and the plans, so that we understand that if there is a gap, that someone's at least covering it, or if we're not covering it, someone else might be, so.
Right, and I've said this before, and then I learned it again after I already knew it from the Conservation Commissioner training I had a chance to go to. But, you know, the whole point is that a peer review for storm compliance with the town's stormwater management program may in fact be a little bit different than the peer review we need to execute our mission. And so, a simple way to look at it, I think, if I could just summarize, so we're all talking the same language, the DPW takes a hard look at compliance with the stormwater handbook, and what we're looking at is protection of the water. And sometimes that's the same peer review thing, and other times it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so as long as, like you say, as long as we understand what each group is looking at, and then maybe think a little bit about the peer review for complicated sites, then, you know, we're almost there.
Yeah, one thing that we realized in the workshop with the DPW is that when we look at the stormwater plans, we had no idea before that meeting what the DPW was actually reviewing in the stormwater reports. We got a letter that there was a review and that they didn't find any issues, but we really didn't know what they were looking at in the report. So Christine and Tony shared the checklist that they go through, and it was really good to see what is actually being reviewed. And so that was a really good view into what they're reviewing, what they're not reviewing, so we can feel comfortable that there are no gaps when they review.
Right, and I just want to say one more thing. In part of those discussions, I remember having a chat with Tony. I just want to repeat in this forum. I was really thrilled because I had a question that we had that was sort of one of those, you know, Conservation Commission type questions, and he goes, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let me add it to my review checklist." So I mean, the fact that it seems to be a living document as we learn more as a team, you know, it's getting loaded in, and that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Christine mentioned, that it is a living document that they are starting to work through, and that every time they do another review, they add more and more to it as they learn more. And so we asked for a copy of it, just so we have it as a reference, just so we see what they're reviewing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, good. Well, Chris, we're glad you were here again for tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
All right, so we have minutes that we need to review and vote on tonight. We've got the February 14th. That was the infamous Valentine's Day meeting where we all came here instead of being home with our loved ones. We were with, you were with us, right, though?
A long, long
So I just want to say that I put in front of you, I put the minutes for February 14th and 28th.
Yep.
Not knowing whether you wanted to do all four sets. I do have them over there. If you do decide you want to do all four tonight, or you want to put them off until next time, it's up to you. But that's why you only have the 14th and the 28th right in front of you.
Okay.
I left the meeting, 8:56.
You did, but then you came back and I forgot to note that.
Okay, yeah, well, thank
He
you.
was gone for like, it wasn't
5
more than
minutes or
5 minutes. It
something,
was like
yeah,
a
and then-
5-minute,
The restroom
it appeared
break.
to be a bio break, but, you know, if I was to
restroom break.
speculate, but. He did come back. He did come back. So let's look at the 14th first there. That was the Valentine's one where we had full attendance. Full attendance. And it was a long night, too.
David and Vivian, is there a pile of these in one particular folder in hard copy? Or are they
Town
electronic
website.
in one place?
Yeah, on the town website under agendas,
Yeah, they're all there,
yeah. All the ones that have been formally approved.
yeah.
Drafts I just send out to everybody.
I've been looking at that, but how far back in time does that go? You- Well, I can check it, no, I'll figure it out.
At least 10 years.
But, I mean, this is like a gold mine of information, that's all.
There's a lot here. Lot here.
Look
All
at them
right.
all the time.
How about February 14th? Are we ready to approve that one? All
I
right,
make a
Carl.
motion. Oh,
All right,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, Mark on the motion and Carl on the second.
Yeah.
All those in favor to approve February 14th? Aye. Approved, unanimous? All right, good. So now let's take a good look at February 28th. Yeah, you're right though, Mark. I mean, it looked like you kind of bailed out early on us.
It's my dream, but I
I
didn't.
mean, someday you may do that. It's like, I've had enough.
I think it was one of those things, it was a 3.5-hour meeting, and I just,
We weren't sure, maybe it was something somebody said, but no, you didn't seem to take offense,
Oh,
you know?
The thing is at the end, it says Mark seconded the motion to close the meeting. I'm like, wait a minute. He left and then he closed.
You know, you're right, it's a good thing you came back and made that motion, because, you know,
Had to drive it back to
your
my house.
constituents might be asking questions.
Right.
Constituents, yes. All right, the 28th.
You mean the boss?
No. Yeah, once upon a time, we had, I won't go there. Go there. That's for when the meeting's over.
I make a motion.
We have a motion to
February 28th.
approve. By Mark, seconded by?
Second.
Carl? Any comments, questions before we vote? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? You want to drag some more minutes out for us? Since the team looks like it's still functioning very well here.
We're motivated.
Motivated, yeah, motivated. All right. More minutes coming
Can I
out.
throw something out for sometime in the month of July and August? If their agenda is not gonna be busy, we typically have one meeting per month. All of us have things to do during the summer, and it's,
Yeah.
do you expect a busy summer, David? Okay, so-
Here. Thank you.
Well, maybe in that vein, maybe just, if you know you're gonna miss, try to let the rest of us know. So that we
Well, I
can,
think is if we're not gonna, I don't think we should have meetings if there's not a reason to have them.
I agree, Dave.
but David just said he thought that we would.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I'll certainly let the commission know if it looks like it's gonna be a very light or non-existent agenda, you know, if and when that happens.
And you
We
must
can
have a
make it as
vacation.
busy as we want and as sparse as we want, like selecting dates we're not gonna be here. We have that option.
Yes, sure.
And
Just throwing it out there, you know, let the whole-
Dave, do you and Vivian have a vacation? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but I mean, that might be another thing to schedule
I
around.
have nothing planned yet.
I mean, worst case scenario, I watch the video and do the minutes from the video. So I can go on vacation whenever I want.
She's always watching, don't forget.
Well, now we know that there is somebody out there always watching.
And I generally take, you know, a day or two here and there.
Actually,
Well,
have
something
you
to
taken a
discuss.
vacation yet, by the way, Dave? I don't think you,
I have built up a lot of time,
I was gonna say, you've been here, how long you been here for with us?
about a year and a half.
Exactly, can't really remember you taking any substantial vacation yet.
I probably should start using a little bit of the
Ah,
time.
okay.
You've earned it.
Oh, thank you.
I second that.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of, what was the next one?
March 28th.
March 28th.
Motion by Carl,
Second,
seconded by Dave. All those in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Unanimous. All right, so 28th's down. And now we just have the last one would be the April 11.
we have.
We have that in front of us, April 11?
So, I got a cupcake.
Oh, here they are, April 11. They're sitting near me here. Here's April 11, how's that? April 11, or we're looking at April 11.
I did my homework.
Yeah, we've been a productive bunch here when you look at
Vivian
Although
makes
we've
us
been
look,
covered.
Vivian makes us look good.
She's making us look good, yes, she's making us look good.
Aw. But I swear to God, all that stuff really did happen.
I stayed in the whole meeting that night, huh?
You were able to make it. It was, you know, it was touch and go, but you were able to, you hung in there.
Oh, wait, Mr. Vines was absent.
There's a pattern developing perhaps.
He's got too much vacation time.
I don't know about you guys, but I always give Vivian $10 to make the meeting longer than it seems.
He thought you did that.
Dave, are you on any painkillers out there?
No, I wish I were. I
You've
don't
hung-
believe it.
You've hung in there well tonight, really. All those, actually, no, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 11th, 2023.
All right, motion by Carl, seconded by Dave McLaughlin. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right, so that takes us through that. Do we have anything before we adjourn? Motion to adjourn then?
I move we adjourn.
Peter on the motion to adjourn and John on the second. All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Good evening, everyone. Have a great night. Thank
Night,
you so
Dave.
much, everyone. Good night, Dave. Hope you're feeling like 100% better.